Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ball Watching, episode what we got here, 58 of the season thus far here, Justin. Justin Graham, Jay Koenig back on the mics for you all as we get closer to the 60th episode of the year. And things aren't slowing down, Justin. We got a lot to talk about today. And I know we've been branching out a lot from our, just kind of strictly city vibes that we've kind of done a lot more during the season because there is so much to chat about. And we want to start, Justin, I think, with one of the closest things to our collective hearts. And I think, like we've talked about before, one of the coolest, most passionate things I think we do with ball watching. And that is our hope for the holidays. We are on our third annual this year, Justin. It's absolutely crazy. Turning 3 and going bigger, I think, this year. Do you have any news you want to drop here? I know on social media we kind of talked a little bit about what's going on here, but some big news to share with the listeners in the pod.
Absolutely. So for anybody that doesn't follow us on Instagram, one, you should, or Twitter. But our special guest this year is none other than John O'Leary, St. Louis's own. For anybody that has been living underneath a rock, the movie just dropped, I think, on October 10th. So almost 2 months ago now, Soul on Fire. It's an extremely heartwarming, touching story. Just what John has gone through in his life and how he's been able to overcome burning 100% of his body, given a 1% chance to live. It's absolutely amazing. Everybody needs to go see that movie. But if you haven't already, you can come to Hope for the Holidays. He is our special guest. He'll be giving a special presentation for us. That is on Saturday, December 20th at 1 p.m. at the Pitch. You can go, we'll put a link to the tickets in the comments here, but you can also find it on any of our social media. $100 gets you all you can eat, all you can drink. You'll be able to sit and hear a live show from John, learn more about the head and neck cancer center at Barnes-Jewish Hospital. But I just took a quick clip, Jake, of the trailer from John's movie, and I'm going to play that right now.
Come on, John, stay with me. Wake up!
Coming through.
How bad is it?
He has burns to 100% of his body.
Want to send out a special hello tonight to a certain young man who's laid up in the hospital. His name is John O'Leary. He's a tough little guy.
It's unbelievable. You mentioned the movie, Justin. I also read his books as well. He's written 2, the first being On Fire, that was in 2016, and the second being In Awe, and Rediscovering Your Childlike Wonder. I mean, the guy is incredible. I've had the chance to speak to him a couple of times. I've had the chance to witness him speak a couple of times as well. I went to the premiere for the movie. It was great. It's a love letter to St. Louis as well. A lot of SLU scenes out there, Justin. We're going to get into some SLU stuff here shortly. But yeah, we're elated to have him on board. I mean, the guy is a motivator. He gets up and commands the room, whatever room he's in. Everyone walks away with something they can take away from and better their lives in doing so. So a little Christmas cheer, a little positivity against some serious adversity in what we're trying to do and raise money to fight head and neck cancers with our friends at the Foundation for Barnes-Jewish Hospital. So I encourage you all, Justin, you mentioned what you get with the ticket. If anyone looks at the ticket and, thinks that, that's a little bit high for you, I promise you, we do everything in our power to make this worth it. It'll be the best $100 you spend. Between the food, the drinks, the socializing with friends and family, getting to meet us. We love to meet all of you there, and getting to hear from some physicians, the medical director from Siteman that does head and neck cancer and can speak to some of the progress and advancements that are being made, on your dime and your support. And then hearing from John O'Leary to round it out. I mean, it's the personal touch all wrapped into one on December 20th on a Saturday, 1 to 4 p.m. Make sure you get your tickets. Again, we're biased here, but we sink a lot of time into this. If you all like our show, I promise you will like Hope for the Holidays.
Oh, absolutely. We have a great time with the food and the drinks down at the Pitch. Shout out to the Pitch for doing this for the 3rd year. Like you said, Jake, it's pretty insane. We have some raffles that we'll be joining that you have to be there in person for. I don't think we're going to do any silent auctions this year. So you have to be in person, be able to do these raffles, stuff from the Blues, the Cardinals, City, everything around St. Louis, all of local vendors as well, which we'll mention once we are there. But to Jake's point, $100 per ticket, and all of the proceeds go to the Foundation of Barnes-Jewish Hospital. This is not something that we are making money on. We are contributing our time and our money into this as well. So please go support us and get some tickets.
And while we're at the theme of support St. Louis University, the SLU Bills march onward to the Elite Eight. They booked their ticket, punched in on Sunday evening at 5 p.m. I hope a lot of you were tuned in. I know a lot of people were following along when I was sort of doing some live tweeting on X, but they pulled it out in double overtime in PKs, and it was heroic. What a performance from the Billikens, the young Billikens playing up against, Justin, I know you did some of the due diligence, a very, very senior Bryant University side. Some of these guys, no freaking clue how you still have eligibility. It's beyond me, but it didn't matter. We started, true freshman Jack DiMaria played every minute of the game, a SLU high guy, leaving his impact against some 26-year-olds out there somehow still kicking the ball in the collegiate level. It's unbelievable. But the adversity, the team handled it, Justin. It was not a pretty game, at all times, especially in the first half, I would say. But SLU really battled. They battled back, took a lot more command in the second half. Had a really nervy on both sides, overtime. Really no team wanted to commit too much. But those PKs, Jeremy O'Bonnell, oh my word, do we have a special goaltender?
Dude, he was absolutely hilarious too. So if you weren't watching the game, I think after the first PK that he was in net for, he went and he tossed the water bottle of the sixth year goalkeeper on the opposing team, Bryant, up over the fence, because on his water bottle is where he had written down which way our players are going. So he was just trying to get rid of it completely, get in the guy's head. He got a yellow card for it. He knows he's going to get a yellow for that, but it doesn't matter as long as you don't get the second yellow. So very smart on his point, or in his part, just trying to get into the guy's head. And Jake, you already made the point about how old some of these guys are. For anybody that didn't see it on social media, the average starting 11 for Bryant was almost 24 years old. And yeah, that sounds like, that seems still pretty young, right? Because we're a soccer podcast. No, remember that the majority of Americans, at least, go to college when you were 18. That means these fellas, starting 11, have been there for 6 years. They had 22 guys that were seniors or older, either fifth year, grad student, 6th year, whatever you want to call it. 3 of the guys starting were over the age of 25. And I think one of the kind of the rounded out, Jake, that just makes it that much funnier was the guy that took the last PK for Bryant. He had to score for them to kind of extend and have a chance on as well. And guess what he did? He did this Cristiano Ronaldo step back. He did the Panenka, and Jeremy just caught it. And also, Jake, I don't know if I told you that the guy that did that last PK when his whole season's on the line, possibly his career, he's a junior, but he's 24 years old. So he's already been in college for 6 years. So it was just an insane time for the Billikens, but I could not be more proud of Coach Kalish and the team. It was an awesome, awesome dub. Take nothing away from them. I'm excited for the Elite Eight.
First of all, I knew that O'Bonnell had thrown the water bottle over the fence. I did not know he did it because that's where the players were going was mapped out. That brings it to a whole nother level for me. I absolutely love the guts on this guy. And I love the guts on this team. We've had Coach Kalish on a couple of different times now, and resilience just seems to be the word of the day constantly for this team. Like, there's no mountain too high for them. And they trust me, now you go up against you just got around Bryant. Bryant had a really solid season and a very senior-like team, and you went up against them with some young guns of your own. And you came out in a rainy, really, really tough fixture, and you did it. Now you go on, your gift for doing that is you are among the final 8 in NCAA soccer in D1, and you get a second chance at Akron, who really gave us the business this year. It was not a scoreline that I think ultimately reflected what happened in the game, but Akron gave it to us 3-0 in September 23rd of this year. That's the last time we've lost a game. From this Bryant game, Justin, we're unbeaten in the last 13, improving to 12-2-8 on the season. And again, Akron was that last loss at Akron. So we're going to repeat this exact fixture with a ton more on the line. SLU has that bulletin board material. They know what it felt like to get done in pretty good earlier in the season, and know what that last loss felt like. I'm sure it's still fresh on the mind, though they have been able to move on. This Akron game is so big. I mean, Akron is a powerhouse. For anyone that doesn't follow college soccer, they've been in and around it for a very, very long time, and they're one of the better teams, I feel like, of recent years. So it's a tall order they have ahead of them, but I know they wouldn't want it any other way, right? You gotta beat the best to be the best, and this team has just shown an unrelenting spirit to fight against whoever gets lined up in front of them and just grit it out. So I'm really excited, Justin. This kickoff couldn't come soon enough, but it will come at noon Central Time, 12 p.m. Central on Saturday, December 6th. I will have just flown back. I'll be in Boston briefly to visit my brother here, but I'm going to be tuning in for this one. It'll be on ESPN Plus again. And I just can't wait for the boys. What an experience of a lifetime.
Dude, it's absolutely awesome. And to give some people some background on this, I know you mentioned that we lost at Akron earlier this season, 3-0. Completely different team, as we've been undefeated for the last 13. I think you mentioned as well. But Jake, I did want to mention this. Someone asked me, it's like, oh, when was the last time that the Bills were at the Elite Eight? And I remember it vividly because I could not believe that the NCAA allowed them to do an Elite Eight game. For anybody that's not looking at this, on the Washington University soccer field, this thing looks like it hadn't been watered in months. There was dirt everywhere. And then guess what? It rained on them as well. So this was back in 2021, I believe the Bills were in the Elite Eight. But we are going back, baby, and I could not be more excited. Akron University was ranked number 14 in the United Soccer Coaches poll on the last week of the regular season. So that's actually worse than Bryant. So technically, should be a little bit of an easier opponent. Yes, they already took us down 3-0. However, it's playoff ball. That's why we play the game. Let's get after it, Bills, on Saturday at 12 p.m.
And we've still got some St. Louis teams alive and kicking their way through the NCAA tournament as well. The UMSL women carry on the baton as they took down also local Maryville. So number 7 UMSL versus number 4 Maryville. They met on Sunday as well, and UMSL defeated them 2-1 to advance to their own Elite Eight. UMSL went up early with a goal in the 29th and again in the 48th. Maryville tried to make that late push, scoring on late, but it was just too late to get on. Now, UMSL women will host number 4 seeded Washburn at WWT Soccer Park on Saturday, December 6th. Yep, same day as SLU, just an hour later at 1 p.m. So again, I know the SLU game isn't local here, but if you want to see some local playoff soccer, the UMSL women, go check them out at WWT Soccer Park at 1 p.m. on Saturday. What else are you doing? Go support.
Absolutely. And before that, Jake, we have the WashU women. So earlier, I think we mentioned this maybe last episode.
Yep.
Just because there was a little bit of a break for them, but they beat the number 4 Messiah 1-0 in overtime in the Elite Eight back on November 22nd with a goal from Madison Foley. Now they face University of Chicago on this coming Thursday, December 4th. So 2 days prior, before SLU and before UMSL women, they take on the University of Chicago at 2 p.m. on Thursday in Salem, Virginia. So you cannot attend that one unless you really like to. I think you can just fly out there. But the Bears tied them 1-1 back on November 8th, which was one of only 2 games. 2 games this season, Jake, that the Bears did not win, as they are currently 20-0-2 and looking to repeat as the national champions. Speaking of which, if they do beat University of Chicago this Thursday on December 4th at 2 p.m., they would go on to play in the championship game of the D3 women's soccer tournament on Saturday, December 6th at 11 a.m. We could have an 11 a.m., a 12 p.m., and a 1 p.m. kickoff. Little 3-screener on your Saturday afternoon.
Unbelievable. I mean, so much playoff soccer to watch, and there's still some kicking in MLS as well, right? Now you're up to your final. I feel like these playoffs have been going on for, forever at this point. But who ended up in there, Justin? Did we predict right? I think we both said Vancouver, Miami would be the final, and thus it was so. Vancouver knocked off San Diego 3-1. Justin, I know you have some notes in this one, so I'll let you take that one, but I will talk about Miami. I mean, they just beat the brakes off of New York City. I mean, it wasn't really a match. 5-1, a hat trick from Tadeo Allende, who had goals in the 14th, 23rd, and the 89th minute. It wasn't even like a messy goal fest. It's just Miami feels inevitable at the moment, and they kind of just let New York City FC have it. And they were having a great run in the tournament, but again, Miami just feels like they're kind of greased and oiled on all cylinders right now. Hard to know what's going to stop this team. Don't know if Vancouver can do that, but Vancouver's in some good form of their own.
That's what, Jake. So I was a little perplexed by this because I went to go look at the lines on this, and before I hop into the final, how did Vancouver get there? They took down San Diego 3-1, and they took it to them early in the 8th minute. Vancouver pressed, caused a turnover in the defensive third of San Diego, and tic-tac-toe later, it's in the back of the net. Easy finish for Brian White in the 8th minute. Then the 11th minute, they called this an own goal in the goalkeeper, but in reality, if you watch it live, it's just pretty unlucky. There was a shot that was blocked off the line by the Vancouver defender, and it goes into the back of the goalkeeper and into your back of your own net. And you're like, all right, we're at home. It's the 11th minute. We're already down 2-0. And guess what? Brian White hits him again in the 40th +2. They just put it again on the platter for him. He doesn't even have to do anything. He's literally just running there, and it's the same type of goal that Messi had. Was it earlier this year or last year? Where he just sticks his chest out, and the ball goes in the back of the net. So Vancouver's up 3-0 in half. Chucky Lozano tries to get him back into it. This is also a very lucky goal for anybody that didn't see it. Originally, I thought it was a hell of a shot, but it was a shot from the upper right part of the 18, gets deflected, puts a ton of topspin on it, and up over the keeper. So That's how they scored their one goal, but this was all Vancouver from start to finish. And as we move into the final, Miami, they are favored to win this game at minus 135. If you want them to just lift the cup, Jake, so not to win in regulation, minus 235. So Vegas really thinks that this team is going to take it home. It's going to be definitely an uphill battle for Vancouver, but I'm excited because then you get a little Thomas Muller versus a little bit of Messi and Suarez. So let's get after it.
And it's going to be hosted at Fort Lauderdale in Florida. So it's going to be home for Miami. It's a big, big deal. They're going to pack the house. If you're MLS, outside of LAFC versus Miami, probably as good a script as you want, because Vancouver's been a really fun story this year with new head coach Jesper Sorensen and obviously Mueller arriving late and just the emergence of some key players for Vancouver and what I think a lot of people probably thought was going to be more of a transition type season for them. But what a story. I'm excited for this MLS Cup final. It's going to be, I think, full of some fireworks. Both these teams can score goals at will. And they also can concede as well. Vancouver a little more stingy than Miami, but Miami's best form of defense is someone just pumping the back of the net.
Yeah, Jake, of course. If we didn't have enough soccer going on Saturday, December 6th, this is at 1:30 p.m. So you can, if WashU goes to the final, we got an 11 a.m. You got SLU at 12, this at 1, and then you got UMSL at 1. And this at 1:30. So it's going to be a hell of a Saturday afternoon.
Oh, boy. Well, before we move, Justin, into some of the World Cup and U.S. men's national team topics, I did want to just bring everyone up to speed. We don't really have anything too tangible to share at this moment, but we did see some reporting yesterday from former podcast guest of ours, Tom Bogert, who writes for The Athletic, has some great podcasts on Soccer-Wise and some others as well. And he reported that St. Louis City is in the final stages of the coaching search. Sources briefed him. So the key thing that I took from his brief about St. Louis, it was an article that had plenty of other things about it, but he said St. Louis will go with a candidate who has experience in MLS. Finalists for the job will continue to interview, and a decision expected in the near future. So City fans, hold on. It's going to be soon. Justin, I think when we hired Corey Ray, we talked about this being one of the first things he'd start to really focus on. I think I said by Christmas, I would expect this person to be installed. I feel like I'm trending that direction right now with this news. But you're all probably wondering, okay, MLS experience. There's a lot of people that have MLS experience at this point. Well, we kind of did a little bit of due diligence on, who some of those candidates might be. And, I've got a 10-man sort of short list. But I only want to kind of talk about a couple in a little context, because I think if you're a City fan, and if you're any MLS fan of any club, frankly, Jim Curtin has got to be number one on your wish list. I will also say Jim Curtin, as great as he did with Philadelphia Union, he's got an elite type of resume in this league, very tactically mature, a very good builder, a culture improver as well. Sounds like he's going to sit out any sort of opportunities for this next season as well. He did sit out the last season. Additionally. So, Carnell was the one to replace Jim Curtin, and look what Carnell was able to do. But Jim Curtin seems like a dream at this point for really any team. There's really no project he's come out and said that he's interested in looking at. But for us, Justin, I think of it like two names that I think fit the most at the moment for different reasons. The first one I'll mention is Laurent Courtois, who you all might have seen in the news, or at least on social media, because he was the head coach at Montreal when Corey Ray was there. This past season, he was also the Columbus Crew 2 head coach when Corey Ray was there. Corey Ray was there as the GM. So a very young, progressive type head coach. Ray has a very, sounds like, strong personal connection with him. And he's a guy that can build identities. He's from a soccer playing style, very possession oriented as well. And he's a guy that, Justin, I feel like if we gave the reins to Laurent Courtois, this is because Corey Ray has an affinity for him, knows how to work with him. Remember, Corey Ray values relationships, values how you work together. And if he's done that and kind of gelled already with a guy like Laurent Courtois and is able to build something special at Columbus Crew 2 together, then take that ship to Montreal, even though Montreal was kind of a little bit of a wash, right? Is that something he kind of falls back on just due to familiarity? And this is a young guy too, so you can build with him as well. Like, he's not a guy that comes in, needs to start winning championships. Like, he brings that resume just full of trophies. He's a guy that wants to go out and earn it, every single day at training and in every game as well. So there's kind of that mentality, Justin. On the flip side and familiarity, there's a guy like Caleb Porter, who coached the Portland Timbers, coached Columbus Crew, just recently was let go of the New England Revolution. He's got 2 MLS Cups, though. on the resume, kind of understands MLS mechanisms in terms of like roster building cycles. He had overlaps with Corey Ray at Columbus and Montreal as well. And just recently, though, he's got that little dotted red X on the resume with New England. Just a really interesting time he took over there. Culturally, wasn't a lot going on, in the good realm, and can be a little bit on the demanding side, intense. You've seen some not so great things posted about him in some articles that I've read. So a little bit of a red flag on like the person side or the cultural side when I look at Caleb Porter, but he brings the muscle. Right. And so like those two for me, Justin, kind of lead the way in terms of if I had to think about where I feel like the club's looking, probably in that direction. But there's plenty of other names with MLS experience out there as well.
There is. And I mean, I think like you said, this is a short list. It truly is. If you think about how long that we've been looking at this list could have went on forever. Because originally, I'm sure we were scouring all over the world. Now we're really honing in. I think Corey Ray is like, you guys need somebody with some MLS experience. Obviously, we have not done that a whole lot in the past year and a half or so. But to mention one more name, Jake, David Critchley, as everybody's already mentioned it. So interim coach, I think honestly, Jake, if it was going to be him, it would have already been him, right? And if it's going to be trying to be somebody else, and then there's like, all right, we didn't get him, David, step in there and get the job done again. It's like, nah, that's not going to be great. So I really don't think it's going to be Critch. However, I do like Critch as a coach. I think he did an incredible job in a difficult situation. And just the one thing that you can do there is keep the locker room together. And I think he did that the best that he could. So shout out to Chris there. I just don't think it's going to be him going forward.
Yeah, he's definitely on the list, right? We know that he was being entertained there. Other names that I pulled in as well, and we're not going to cover in detail. Obviously, Peter Vermees is still out there. He's probably going to want a lot more say than just head coaching, though, of course, because he had the whole charade at Sporting. Ronnie Dalia from New York City FC, most recently with Atlanta United. He was just parted ways with Chris Armas from Red Bulls, Toronto, and then most recently let go at Colorado. His contract expired in Colorado. Sandro Schwarz from New York Red Bulls has a little more of that Red Bull style soccer DNA, which maybe we still have a bit of left in us, but he brings Bundesliga experience as well. Troy Lesane is another name you might have heard of from DC United as well as the Red Bulls. All these guys have various different ways of approaching things. And again, maybe there's names, Justin, we haven't even mentioned here that are on that list. Because again, plenty of guys at this point have MLS experience. But like, what are we leaning into? Is it MLS experience just for having some sort of MLS experience? Or is it winning MLS Cups? Is it winning trophies? Is it winning silverware? Is it just turning around programs and building programs? Is it getting the most out of your lower budget type teams? Or really, just squeezing every last bit of juice out of the lemon sometimes? When it's a team like St. Louis, you're never going to compete with some of your bigger clubs in terms of those rosters and your DPs and your salary expenditures and whatnot. Do you get a guy that's just known to just make the most out of those situations? So many different things to look for. I think we mentioned a couple that probably will be in that, contention for a finalist perspective here, Justin, but it's something that I think we're going to know very, very soon. Again, I don't give it even to Christmas. I think we're going to know well before who the coach is. And I think that's good, right? You want that guy fully bedded in with Corey Ray, helping make decisions, filling in the 6 open roster spots that we have, helping prioritize, get us back to our new way of playing that Corey Ray wants to usher in. And you want him there early. You don't want him there like joining in preseason. You want him there at the table, making roster decisions and shaping what 2026 and beyond looks like for the club.
Exactly. I think the one thing that I was going to bring in that you mentioned there right at the end was we have so many holes in the roster still that we are waiting for a coach. Not waiting 100%, but you would like to have a coach to have some of the input on those decisions, right? Or we still need to sign a DP. But all of those holes that we talked about with Chat City Tactics, Mike, is something that needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed rather quickly because it can be a cold, cold world out there, Jake, for some of these guys that are either just not getting signed or being released late. So you really want to start making those decisions earlier. And guess what, Jake? It's not a cold, cold world for us because we're under the Hoffman Brothers roof. For anybody that hasn't already, you need to call 314-664-3011 and sign up for that home protection plan. We've been trying to warn you. The winter was coming, and it's here. I'm not going to lie, Jake. I brought the third monitor in for sharing all this screen. I went out to the car and got it earlier. I slipped. I dropped it. Luckily, no scrapes or anything, but I ate it on ice, immediately went back out there, shoveled, and threw down some salt, but came right into a nice, cozy house thanks to the Hoffman Brothers.
Oh my God. Is falling on ice not the most humbling thing of all time? It just doesn't look graceful and it hurts. It hurts real bad.
I felt like I was in a movie scene because I pretty much tossed my screen and then I had stopped afterwards. And I was like, No effing way that I just like sit here and just slip on my own steps going up. But yes, but thankfully, Jake, we don't have to worry about any of that.
No, we don't.
Brothers
We don't. And Justin, you mentioned home protection plan. I'll rattle it off right now. 15% discount on all repairs, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, and appliance. 5% off duct cleanings. We know those are really expensive procedures as well. 5% off all types of installations up to $700. Priority service. Justin, we mentioned that white glove, getting in early when you need to. 15% off a home plumbing inspection, 15% off electrical panel safety inspection, 15% off draining cleaning services, reduced service fees, 2% tune-ups annually, which I received both of mine this year. And you get your standard humidifier service and pads, your filters that all of us probably set alarms for to remember to put those in and remind and refresh those, a couple times a year. They give you those. So many great perks for the home protection plan. I urge you all to consider signing up through Hoffman Brothers at 314-664-3011 or visiting online at hoffmanbros.com.
Jake, and you mentioned some tune-ups. Watch this segue as the U.S. men's national team just booked their final tune-ups before the World Cup that was announced today. These were kind of nuts. We already kind of knew about Belgium and likely Portugal as well, but then you're throwing Germany in there. So for anybody that hasn't seen this, on March 28th, we're taking on Belgium at the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. Then on March 31st, just 3 days later, we're taking on Portugal at the Mercedes-Benz Dome in Atlanta. So just FYI, in the FIFA rankings, and we also have ELO rankings, Portugal is ranked 6th and Belgium is ranked 8th in the world. And then also on May 31st, we have a TBD. We're waiting to figure that out. Kind of odd. And then also on June 6th, we're taking on Germany in Chicago at Soldier Field. Jake, I want to go to that game if you want to go anyways. Germany is 9th in the world. So tune-ups right before the World Cup. Don't forget that the World Cup starts on June 11th. So we're doing a tune-up 5 days prior against the number 9 team in the world, along with 2 other tune-ups just a couple weeks earlier against Portugal, who's number 6, and Belgium, who's number 8.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, think about the last couple of fixtures for us, right? We've been very South American in our approach. And there's a lot of things that go into that, right? But South American teams, you're going to probably have one of them in your group. You're going to have a UEFA team as well. You're going to have a European team. You're probably going to have an African team or an Asian team as well. The way they try to build out these groups, and we'll talk about the pot draw coming up, is you get one from each confederation. Europe's the kind of the little bit of the asterisk because they have so many teams that qualify that you might have 2 potentially in some groups. But the goal is just to have one from each. So yeah, I mean, I'm from a fan perspective, what else could you ask for? You want to see your team tested at the highest level? We don't have any competitive fixtures to play in before the World Cup. Yeah, go ahead and bring in Portugal and Belgium and play them both in successive days and kind of mimic what it's like to be in a World Cup kind of simulation where you're playing every couple of days in high level fixtures. And these teams will take it seriously too, because this is it, right? For them, just like it's our last camp, this is their last camp. And then you get to camp, the roster's named, and that's when we'll play our final 2 tune-ups as well as a send-off match, which is our second tune-up against Germany. If that first game, that May 31st Justin game, is in Charlotte, I imagine you're playing a team that's camped on the East Coast for their fixtures. So once this draw happens, we're about to segue into here on Friday the 5th, which again we're going to cover extensively right here. You'll probably look at your Eastern Coast teams in terms of where they're playing those games, because that's probably where they'll camp out, and you'll probably play one of those teams. It can't be a European team. Playing 4 European teams in your last 4 games feels like a little bit of a disservice, because every team plays differently. Every confederation plays a little bit different. Like South America, Justin, is like super physical, very, very technical, a little bit rugged at times, right? Those South American teams, they grind out there. And, you play like your AFCON, countries. These people are specimens. They'll run you up and down the pitch, have some also very, very talented quality technical players there in Africa as well. And you play your European teams that very, very technical, right? Still also very athletic, but very technical. So I would love for us to see if we can mix in a non-UEFA opponent on that May 31st slot to just mix it up a little bit, given we're going to have such a big diversity in our group as well.
It honestly impresses me that you're able to just say UEFA and it rolls off the tongue instead of UEFA. But that's what it just threw me off. But Jake, the last point I want to make on this, kind of a light bulb in my head. You just mentioned that, oh yeah, we're probably a team that's going to be camping out on on that East Coast for the North Carolina game. Germany, we're playing them in Chicago. I leaked this a while back that Germany might be in St. Louis
Yeah.
doing that little hosting job here. Yes, we are not hosting any games, but we will be hosting a team. We are one of the sites that they can train and live at during the World Cup. So could be a nice little surprise for Germany to be in St. Louis.
I thought the same, Justin. You're saying when I saw that today with Chicago, I'm like, well, that probably means they're posted up centrally in the Midwest somewhere, and St. Louis could be that spot. But let's talk about the draw. We teed it up enough. We teased enough. So the draw, the World Cup draw is, and I can't believe I'm saying this, is Friday, December 5th, this Friday in Washington, D.C. This is the first 48 team World Cup, and that will begin, like you said, Justin, on June 11th. It's almost entirely done at this point who will make up each of the 4 pots, and the 12 groups of 4 are 48 teams. There's still a couple qualifiers, a couple playoffs to be played here, Justin, but it's one of those things, like I mentioned, where we are so advantaged in this format. For the first, it's an expanded format, so you will get some technically lesser opposition mixed in here as well in this format, just giving more teams a chance. Obviously, it's all for money, we know that. And then you also have the advantage here because you're a host nation. And by being a host nation, you are put into the first pot. When you think about the pots, everyone, pot 1, pot 2, pot 3, pot 4, you get one team from each, makes up your group. And in pot 1, in pot 2, and pot 3, and pot 4, it's all based on your FIFA rankings and how you performed in your qualifiers, and all your fixtures that led up to this. And so you find yourself in the company of not only your 2 other fellow host nations, Canada and Mexico, but your France, your Argentina, your England, your Brazil. So none of those teams we will have in our group. We are all abstained from playing any of those teams in our group. We will have to obviously play them outside of that if we are to get out of it. But for us as the USA, getting out of your group, it's kind of always been a little bit of a mixed bag in terms of, group of death sometimes. And, we have the bogey team, Ghana in our group here and there. This is the time, right? You're at home. You might not feel at home in some of these matches, so be it. But you are being shielded from some of the toughest opposition early on in this tournament. You will have to play them eventually, but get the business done in the group. There will never be an easier group for the U.S. men's national team. So that's kind of a tidbit I wanted to start with. Justin, any thoughts on that?
Yes, the one thing I do want to add is, one, there's a couple reasons why there won't be. It will be the easiest group ever. One, and there's 2. It's because we're hosting. So we're automatically in that pot 1. So we will not, like you mentioned, play Spain, Argentina, France, England, Brazil, Portugal, Netherlands, Belgium, or Germany. So top 2 teams out of each of the groups get through. And then I think it's 8 of the best 3rd place teams. So we have a very, very good chance to at least get out of our group. Knock on wood. It also makes sense why we are playing Germany and Portugal in these tune-up games, right? Because if you look at this, and Belgium, because they're going to be in our group, so we definitely will not play them. And that also leads me to believe, Jake, that they are waiting to release that other game because it's probably a team outside of pot 1 that they're deciding between. So we're likely not going to be facing England in a friendly in North Carolina. Probably be pot 2, 3, or 4, and they're probably waiting to see if they're going to be in our group because we will not play them if they're going to be in our group. So there's another point to it as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. And so that we mentioned there's 42 of the 48 teams have been named. There's 4 of those 6 remaining that are UEFA or UEFA playoff qualifiers, and there are some good teams in that mix, Justin. The thought is that all these playoff qualifiers, there's a couple Confederation qualifiers, there's 2 of those, and there's 4 UEFA qualifiers. There are some bogeys in those 4. And remember, I believe this to be true. I have not seen or heard otherwise. All of those teams will drop into pot 4. So when I'm saying that as a big deal, it's because Wales, Bosnia, Italy, Ukraine, Sweden, Poland, Turkey, Czech Republic, Ireland, Denmark are all in the playoff qualifier. Remember, not all those teams are going to make it. Some of them will have to knock each other out to earn that spot. But you could have a situation where in Italy, a Denmark, a Turkey, who mopped the floor with us a couple months ago, are going to be in that pot 4. So you survive the draw, you get to your pot 4, you're like, okay, give us our cream puff, give us the goal differential game, and then you draw Italy. So there's some really tricky things that could happen on Friday as part of this draw. And the more you know, because now you can watch it. By the way, it's on Fox. It's at noon, I believe, Central Time. Or is it Eastern? Let me get this right here, Justin. It is at noon. And you need to watch this with a keen eye because obviously you're looking for the U.S. men's national team and who will end up in the group. But now you can watch it knowing that, okay, well, you can't have more than one, or definitely not more than 2 UEFA teams in your group. you're going to also, know that you're not going to draw any of the big guns in your group, but you're also looking at where you're at in the tournament. The one thing that just happened here, Justin, I know you and I are texting about this, is FIFA announced that they're separating the real top 4 seeds in the tournament. So that being Spain, Argentina, France, and England, putting them in separate quadrants in the tournament to ensure that none of them meet prior to a semifinal or a final for some as well. So there is no France versus Spain in the quarterfinals or in a round of 16 matchup anymore, which, those were fun to watch as well. So early on, these big popcorn games that are just huge watches. But again, it kind of gives those teams a chance to make it further without meeting someone so early on. And it gives the fans at least someone to look at and say, okay, well, we can look forward to the semifinal because it could be bonkers by the time we get there. But again, for the U.S., you're going to have to make your way past one of those top 4 teams if you want to get to the semifinal or final.
And it's likely we're going to have to make it past either like a Brazil or a Portugal, Netherlands, or Belgium or Germany as well, right? Because there's 48 teams in this one. But Jake, to your point, there's a good chance that like Italy, who I think is ranked like 15th in the world, could be in pot 4, joining teams like Jordan, Cabo Verde, Curacao, and Haiti. And then you're throwing Italy in there, World Cup champs, Italy, who I think have made the most like world or second most World Cups, something up there with like Germany and Brazil. It's absurd. But Jake, I love the World Cup as well because you already mentioned it, that you have like your Wales, Ukraine, like teams that have been there before. We have a couple teams that I'm sure have never been there. One of them, so looking at this, the other 2 qualifying spots is in this little mini tournament. This first flag, Jake, for New Caledonia, I thought it was like 2 teams that were going to play each other. No, that's just their flag. It's like cut in half. So they're taking on Jamaica on March 26th, and they play the winner of that game plays the Republic of Congo, and then you have Bolivia versus Suriname, and the winner of that plays Iraq. And so the only 2 of those 6 teams are making it into the World Cup too. But it's just so cool that we bring something in like together to be able to get tiny countries like this into experiencing something like that. Imagine that, being that from one of those countries, coming to the U.S., playing soccer in front of tens of thousands cheering fans. It's going to be electric.
So let's run it, Justin. I mean, I created here what I thought would be our best case, the group of life, and the worst case group of death. We regardless, I don't think we'll be in a group of death because we're not playing against any of the pot 1 teams since we are a pot 1 team. But the group of life, in my opinion, Justin, looks something like this. So we're the pot 1 team, US. Pot 2 would be drawing a team like Austria, who is, I think, statistically the lowest ranking UEFA team in the tournament right now, barring the inclusion in any of the playoff qualifiers we've already talked about. I think in pot 3, you'd be lucky to draw up a team like Uzbekistan, who we've seen. I think Uzbekistan played the U.S. here in St. Louis as well. And then a team in pot 4, I could look at it as someone that I'd love to match up against would be like a Cape Verde, for example. A new team in this. You could also look at a team like Jordan as well as an alternative, or even like a New Zealand. New Zealand, not a very strong team either. But that would be like if I had to draw out, Justin, we'll do some randomized here in a second. If I had to draft what I think is our best chance at winning and winning in style, that'd be, I think, what the group of life would be for me.
Absolutely. You give the U.S. against Austria, tough one, and then Uzbekistan and Cape Verde. We would be just fine. Knock on wood. God, I'm going to jinx this. But then we're going to go to the worst case scenario, and this is why
it's bad.
This is why the World Cup could be daunting, the way that these pots work out. So obviously you have us as pot 1 is that choice. Pot 2, you get Morocco, the giant killers from 2022, lost to France in the semifinal after knocking out Spain and Portugal in the last World Cup. Their FIFA ranking is 11, and they have an ELO rating of 22, which we'll touch about in a little bit here. Other alternatives that you could also replace them with that are just scary as well: Colombia or Croatia. Some very well-known players on both teams, very established when it comes to soccer history as well. Pot 3, this would be terrible. You get Erling Haaland and Norway. They've only been to 3 World Cups, but Erling Haaland is the most fearsome striker by far in football, scoring in the UEFA qualifying with 16 goals in 8 games.
Yeah.
It's like so if anybody doesn't know or doesn't really keep up with European soccer, picture like Tim Ream and then like add like 4 inches, make him about 15 years younger, and add another 20 pounds of muscle. And that's Erling Haaland. And this guy can just put the ball in the back of the net with the best of them. And then the worst case as well is grabbing one of those guys from the pot 4 on the UEFA playoff winner that we talked about. You could have a Ukraine, a Sweden, a Poland, an Italy, or a Denmark. That's just tough.
Yeah. I mean, can you imagine looking down the barrel of that? That might be a group of death right there. I mean, because again, like we mentioned, Morocco was taking names in 2022. Norway is new since they have this is their first World Cup since '98, and they have Erling Haaland, Martin Odegaard, and a bunch of other players who'll be chomping at the bit to get Norwegian pride back on the world soccer scale. And then, yeah, God forbid you have one of your big dogs that you draw in pot 4 from the UEFA qualifying. I mean, you could be screwed if you just happen to have the luck not fall your way in this draw. But Justin, before we jump into a couple of side notes on this, do you have the random generator up? I want to do a couple for the group here, and let's see what we shake out on.
Yeah, I do want to do it. So, Jake, let me share my screen, and I'll share this. I think I found it on Twitter.
I want you to do one, and I want to do one.
All right. So here's, for anybody that doesn't see it, we'll speak it out loud, but I'm going to simulate what the draw could be for the U.S. It looks like we got Group D. And Jake, I would take this group. It would be us with Saudi Arabia, Senegal, and then we get kind of screwed a little bit there by having a Denmark out of pot 4 there. But I would absolutely take that. And then, Jake, if I were going to say who would be the group of death after that, it would be Argentina, Croatia. They've got Congo in there, but then you also have Norway. I feel like those are 3 teams that are very tough, and one of them is likely getting bounced. Or if you want to go with another one that's just going to be kind of a little bit more strong across the board, I would probably go with Spain, Panama, Switzerland, and Ghana. But that just seems a little bit kind of more of a toss-up.
That's a tough one too. And look at Group B as well. I think that's sneaky difficult. Go up, Justin, to B. Canada is the host country. They're the pot 1, but you have Ireland who comes in, they drop in from the playoff qualifier, just looking to make things difficult. Paraguay, who we know is difficult. South Korea with Son could be tricky as well. I mean, there's no walk in the park in any of these groups, no matter how it shakes out, but some you definitely would think are easier than others.
Oh, absolutely. All right.
Let's do another one.
Give you a quick spin, see what the U.S. gets, and go with your easiest group.
So U.S., again, Group D, because we are in Group D. We already know our group, so you know what to look out for if you're looking at the draw on Friday. In this one, we drew Algeria, Australia, who is from pot 2, and who was the 4th one in there? Ukraine. So Ukraine would qualify via the UEFA qualifying process. I would not be opposed to this group. I think Algeria, Australia, Ukraine is a very winnable group. And I'm looking as you scroll here, Justin, for our group of death. Early thoughts, yeah, Germany, Italy, Ivory Coast, Colombia. Does not get much more deadly, but Justin, look at Group L. Belgium, Morocco, and then I don't know who the team in the small there is, but Norway as well.
Iraq.
Oh, man, Iraq. I mean, I feel for you. That would be a tough one to get out of. Holy God. You absolutely are going to see some teams get hosed on Friday in this group draw. But that's what makes it so fun. So for everyone watching on Friday, as you go into this, know that Group D is the USA's group. That is already known. Group B is Canada's group. That is already known. And Group A is Mexico's group. So look at Group D. If you're a U.S. men's national team fan, you want to know who your opponents are in Group D. And remember, we will play our opening match in L.A. on June 12th. Then we'll go to Seattle on June 19th. And then we'll go back to L.A. on June 25th. And that will wrap out our group. A little bit under 2 weeks of time there. So much fun coming up here, Justin. The draw is really just beginning of it. But I equate it to like March Madness. This is my March Madness. Like the tournament reveal, the brackets, the seeds. Like this is about as fun as it gets. We should do a bracket, Justin, for this. This would be fun. A little listener bracket.
Absolutely. Didn't we do one?
We might have. We probably did. It was like years ago now, but like it feels a lot longer ago.
You can do that. Make a little pot. Make it kind of fun to get some listeners involved. But Jake, as these get drawn, you're probably going to see us reference this a little bit more coming up on Friday. But I do want to give people just a quick rundown. You'll see us reference FIFA soccer rankings and also ELO rankings. And so, Jake, I'm going to let you give a little bit of background on what the ELO side of it is. But just quickly, for anybody that can't see this visually, there can be some large differences. So if you look at this, the biggest one I saw in the top 50 to 60 was Qatar. They're ranked 51st in FIFA, but 80 low. That's 38 lower. Then the second largest one, Jake, there's no fudging of numbers. USA. FIFA has us ranked at 14th. ELO has us at 34th. But then you have some ones that can be moved up. You got Norway at 29th in FIFA, but 11th in ELO, and Belgium They dropped 11 spots from 8 to 19. But Colombia, something that we talked about in one of these, they're technically a pot 2 team, but they are ranked in ELO as the number 5 team in the world. So, Jake, what does the ELO ranking take into consideration versus the FIFA World Cup rankings?
Yeah, so I mean, rankings are rankings. There, some people care about them, some people really don't. But ELO rankings estimate the true strength of national teams using a chess style. It's a chess style ranking system in a format that adjusts for opponent quality, goal difference, and home advantage. So upsets over or dominant wins move the ratings very sharply on an ELO ranking scale. FIFA rankings use a more conservative or standardized system geared towards, like global fairness or tournament seeding. So any big tournaments you go play in, like Copa America for us, or the World Cup, with a fixed match importance weight and no factors like goal margin or home field. So big blowout games that you play in that you're on the better side of, or big games at home, they don't really count for anything more in the FIFA rankings. So as a result, like in summary, ELO tends to be more of a react faster to real performance and is often more predictive. So think of it, I almost, Justin, see it as more like power rankings. And then FIFA is slower to change, a little bit more official based on official tournament rankings and whatnot and seeding. So, I don't think either one is necessarily better than the other, but I think taken together, you can kind of get a sense. 'Cause I look at USA, for example, here, Justin. USA 14 in FIFA. Do I really buy that? Maybe, maybe not. On some day, it depends, honestly, on what we're doing that day. But ELO has us at 34. I kind of think the truth is somewhere in the middle there. But frankly, we haven't been, the best at tournaments recently in official competition. So I get that from an ELO perspective. But I also get FIFA rankings. Like we've also beaten and taken care of some good teams recently. So it's a mixed bag. We know Belgium, for example, we know they're 8 in FIFA. I think they're a great team. But recently they have not been their greatest selves. That's why ELO has them at 19. So I think taken together is the best way to view how teams really are and what you're coming up against. But either way, you're going to draw some pretty solid teams in some good form heading into your group. But Justin, as we were doing this research, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention there is a rogue tournament apparently being planned by our friends in Russia to host an alternative World Cup for the non-qualified nations. And it's not necessarily like they missed out on qualifying. Some of them were just, banned, for example. So the proposed tournament would feature 8 to 12 national teams that are either sanctioned by UEFA or failed to qualify for the 2026 World Cup. And it would take place entirely in Russia. This is all hearsay right now. There's been nothing official on this. But for now, it's an idea. It's in planning stages. It would be concurrent with the 2026 World Cup, and it could feature teams like Russia, Serbia, Chile, Nigeria, Greece, Peru, Venezuela, Cameroon. And a lot of these teams, none of them have publicly said anything about it. I, for one, Justin, I love it. I mean, the more soccer, the merrier for me. If we got like a second like NIT running up against the World Cup, I mean, it'd be so much fun.
The only thing I don't like, Jake, is that they're just like, yep, we're going to do it right smack dab in the middle of the World Cup and like try to take away from it. Like that's a very Russia thing.
Yeah. With what broadcasting partner are they going to do this? I mean, like, are they going to be like on mom and dad home videos system?
Right. YouTube. But it's got like their version of YouTube. Sorry, I was not crapping on YouTube. Like we're streaming like US Open Cup here, but like whatever the Russian version of YouTube is, that like if you try to click on that on your home computer, say bye-bye to all of your personal data. So I'm just very confused, but I do kind of like it. I mean, the game is growing so much that they're just like, we should do this. I do, and I'll put a little bit of a positive spin on it, Jake. They hosted the World Cup back in 2018. So it's like now they have all these stadiums, nothing to do with them. Let's kind of repurpose them and use them for something. So if you want to look at it that way, there's a little bit positive spin for you.
And again, a reason why this is happening is because they're banned. They've been banned from participating in FIFA events and UEFA sanctioned competitions since 2022, following the invasion of Ukraine. Turns out if you invade a fellow country in your confederation, you will be banned from official competitions. So note to self, do not do that. Also, final comment here, Justin, and this is just kind of this is all hitting stride right now. Justin, I feel like this crashing wave of every kind of piece is starting to come together for soccer in the United States to just blossom and blow up. I think this World Cup is the beginning. I think you would have said if we had performed decently, Copa America could have been the beginning when we hosted that. But back to Copa America, there are discussions taking place between CONCACAF and CONMEBOL, so the North American and South American soccer federations, for the 2028 edition of the tournament, Copa America, to be hosted here in the United States. It's not official yet. There's a lot of anonymous sources reporting on this at the moment. But you might think to yourself, okay, well, Jake, you mentioned Copa America from 2 years ago. We're hosting the World Cup. We could host 2028 Copa America here. We're going to be hosting the 2031 Women's World Cup. We'll be hosting the 2028 Olympics as well, which this Copa America would be taking place just, I think, before the Olympics. It's a lot of crap going on in the U.S. and a lot of good soccer. Justin, people might ask why. It's the simplest question when you think about what drives sports in this day and age, and it is money. It is because in this last iteration of the tournament, 2024, the U.S. hosted it. They had 1.6 million fans attend the 16-team, 32-match tournament. And the ticketing model in the U.S. netted CONMEBOL. Remember, this is their tournament. We're hosting it for them. I'm sure we get some cut as well from CONCACAF. But the tournament was responsible for the bulk of $319 million worth of income for CONMEBOL alone from national teams competitions. This is a cash cow for them. And they know that we know how to put on a tournament with logistics, with the facilities that we already have. We're not building anything new. You can walk in here and throw a tournament within weeks, it feels like, of planning, because we just have the infrastructure ready to go. Justin, I am all about more official, huge competitions coming here. Obviously, this means the U.S. will be back in the Copa America as well, hopefully better than we were in 2024. But between 2024 Copa, 2026 Men's World Cup, 2028 Copa America potentially, plus 2028 Men's Olympic Games for soccer and women's as well, and then 2031 Women's World Cup. I mean, that is 7 years of big soccer tournaments being hosted in this country. I mean, where do I sign up? I mean, if we do things right, we should be on a rocket ship, man.
I mean, I think they already saw that somewhat with the Club World Cup this year as well. So I think this is one where people are finally like, all right, the U.S. is kind of getting into soccer a little bit more from like an actual skill perspective, but we're also just growing from a viewership perspective. And to your point, Jake, who puts on a better party in the USA than the USA? So I think it just makes sense that this is truly, like you said, we don't have to build any stadiums. We're not leaving anything just overgrown afterwards. Like, no, then you got like the Philadelphia Eagles coming in and playing next week. So I think it's a perfect opportunity. And I just could not be more excited as it's starting to grow in the U.S. And I just get giddy when I think about the World Cup because it is going to be so cool here in the States, and I cannot wait.
Yeah, so much fun. And again, like you said, Justin, we're going to really blend a lot more of this in here. There's a lot of cool stuff happening with U.S. soccer right now in terms of how they're trying to shape the sport in this country in terms of the culture and pay to play and how college features into that and how, again, how do we make ourselves internally set up correctly so that we can take advantage of all of this forward momentum and progress and all the eyeballs on the American product, or at least on American soccer from a global perspective. And we'll highlight some more of that in future shows, but we will definitely be breaking down, Justin, on the next pod here, the World Cup draw, the group. We'll be breaking it down in detail, how these matches will go. I remember this, Justin, like it was last year. We talked about the US's group for 2022, a little bit different with the different timing of the tournament last time. But Justin, before we round out here, any final messages? I think maybe one from our most recent sponsor that you all want to hear more about.
Sports betting is legal in Missouri, and I could not be happier. Now everybody should go and download that DraftKings app because they've got some special things running right now.
Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code BWSTL. All customers can opt in today to double their money if Kansas City gains just 1 yard in Sunday's matchup. That's code BWSTL in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 and over. Physically present in Missouri. Eligibility and restrictions apply. One single-use odds boost per customer. Market boosted to plus 100 odds. Max bet $50. Expires at 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time, December 7th. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, so Jake, again, that was a lot. But for that one specifically, it is something that I am just absolutely shocked that they are running promos like this because this is, I'm not kidding, legitimate, just easy for a way to get into this. So I'm going to share the screen again for anybody that didn't see it. If Kansas City just gets 1 yard on this Sunday's matchup, you can move those odds to plus 100 and you can put $50 down on it and you will receive $50 back at the end of that game. So this is a huge one for them. So, Jake, I could not be more excited. As we've already mentioned, we've got college basketball going on right now. We've got the NFL going on right now. We're going to have the MLS final on Saturday. You can bet on it all. You just need to use code BWSTL when you sign up. And guess what? As of right now, new Missouri customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets instantly. No waiting, no nonsense, just pure action powered by America's top-rated sports app, DraftKings.
Hey, ball watching listeners know ball. So, hey, I know that you all are thinking like, oh, it's bonus bets and, they're just trying to get me on board. Maybe as a beginning, but you can win some cash, some serious bonus bets. I mean, Justin, there's already been 2 this week for Missouri customers. This is the second. The first was the Blues to have a shot on target last night. God forbid they missed that somehow, but no, they didn't. And Justin, you're going to love this because it was a max bet of $50 to win $50 for your bet. I fat fingered $5 in there, and so I won 10. It was a really big bummer, but I'm still a little bit greener today, thanks to DraftKings, our newest sponsor for 2025 and 2026. But I encourage you all, get on board. When you go to DraftKings, make sure you sign up using BWSTL, our code, to get those bonus bets into your bank account and get the money flowing on your favorite sports, any sport.
And if you missed out on that Blues one last night, I won $50, and I'm going to win another $50 on Sunday. The Chiefs just have to get 1 yard in the entire game. Like, obviously, that will literally probably happen first play or 2. So then you're up another $50, up $100, thanks to our friends at DraftKings.
Unreal. Well, thanks everyone for tuning into the show today. Appreciate you all. Make sure you like and subscribe if you're listening to us on YouTube. Same thing. Make sure you follow the show on Spotify and Apple so you can get dropped these episodes as soon as we drop them. And for anyone that's listening right now, we drop the pod almost immediately after this to make sure there's no lag time for our listeners, for our fans. Very thankful again, Justin. We talked about it last week for the Thanksgiving holiday, but thankful for you all for tuning in. I know it's a little bit more difficult in the off season when things aren't going, as fast as they are during regular season, but there's still so much happening. So I want to wrap back around to the beginning, Justin. Make sure you watch the SLU Billikens on Saturday. It's going to be an occasion. Anytime St. Louis is in the final running for a big tournament against some bigger markets, some bigger brands, bigger programs, that we have that blue collaredness in us, and it's that SLU blue. I believe in this team. We believe in Kevin Kalish and what he's been able to do there. And to expand more locally, watch the UMSL women as well as they go to their own elite match here. Obviously, they're hosting. If you want to go to Soccer Park on December 6th on Saturday at 1 p.m. Get some tickets and go join. Same with WashU women, who are at a further, obviously, they could have a chance to go play in the championship here shortly as they're in the Final Four, and that's happening on Thursday at 2 p.m. Central in Salem, Virginia. So much locality to be on the lookout for. I encourage you all to take pride in that as well. Even when your professional team's not here, you've got these kids, these young men and women who are grinding and giving their absolute all. And this is really what the game's about, right? Like you and I, we've played at those young levels, and we know what it's like to take the field and with your friends and your family and do it for something bigger than yourself. So I give all these teams my best wishes and best of luck, because it's a momentous time and they're representing us in doing so.
Great plug. And I'm going to make one more plug as well, Jake, for everybody that didn't catch it at the beginning of the show. Go out there and see if you'd be interested in attending our Hope for the Holidays. This is Saturday, December 20th from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Pitch. You can get tickets for $100. Those tickets would include catered food, premium open bar, exclusive raffle access, a presentation from the medical director of the Head and Neck Surgery Center at Siteman Cancer Center, and the coolest thing that we dropped today, a special presentation from St. Louis's very own John O'Leary, who is an incredible, incredible human being. For anybody who doesn't know that story, you can go see the movie or read the book. For Soul on Fire, he is awesome, and I cannot be more excited that we are going to be having him at our event. Get tickets to Hope for the Holidays, Saturday, December 20th, 1 to 4 p.m.
So much good stuff going around here, everyone. So if you have any questions on anything we're chatting about, let us know. Shoot us a DM. If you want to get tickets, if you want to sponsor, if you're on behalf of a commercial, employer, or you want to be a part of it in a bigger way, we obviously are doing those things as well. So reach out to us. Let us know. We will take anyone that hops on the boat and helps us row in that direction to make a difference in the lives of these afflicted families and patients. We are more than grateful to talk to. So thank you all for your support. Thank you all for listening today. We'll be back again next week to talk about the draw, but stay glued to that TV. The draw is again on Friday. It's going to be electric. Make sure you tune in on Fox, and we'll talk about it afterwards. In the meantime, all for City, all for SLU, all for UMSL, all for Wash U, right?
Roll Bills.
Roll Bills, baby.